Hooray! The Never An Afterthought book is won!
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
You're welcome to the reading of Afolabi Imoukhuede's book, Never An Afterthought. When I got the book, because I have very little to do than sit here, read, compose, I quickly started reading it and I enjoyed it. So I got to a point where, when an author starts to write, he gets to somewhere, he packed it full of action. And when he moves again, he gets to a point where he tones it down, he pulls out facts. As I was reading, I was picking on areas where I can read and everybody listening will know the innermost mind of the author. And then, because I'm going to be talking, because as long as I'm reading, I'm talking. Don't let me overdo my talking. What I am to do here is to talk from what has been written in this book so that you can enjoy it. Give me the opportunity to begin. I'm taking it from chapter 4, charting my path dangerously. A glance at the picture of my parents, however, would show that the reference to my father has little to do with looks and more to do with character or the trajectory of my life. I am proud to be compared to a colossus like Chief Joseph Afolabi Imoukhuede, OBE. But it was the man himself that attempted to mold me in his own image. Even in terms of my career, he attempted to live his dreams through me. The story of my lad, of my family, is that my father wanted one of his children to be a doctor. Not just a PhD in any field, but a medical doctor, MD. With a lab coat, a stethoscope, and all that. Although my father's reputation in this country is mainly as a public administrator, his initial dream in life was to be a medical doctor. From all indications, he simply decided that what he could not achieve by himself could still be achieved through one of us, and he seemed to have zeroed in on me for that pet project. Perhaps this is partly because I had the natural disposition that suited the medical profession. I was clinical in my approach to things. I was neat. I was not academically dull, and maybe I reminded him of a doctor he once knew. Whatever the case, my dad began to pursue this program by first instilling in me the desire to become a doctor, which I began to look forward to becoming someday. Knowing how sold I was on the idea, it is surprising that I did not turn out to be a doctor. Long before my father died, destiny began to put roadblocks on the path he had charted for me. The first roadblock was my failure to get into King's College. Established in 1909, The founders of King's College did not pretend that the school was for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. King's College was aptly named because it was intended to provide young boys in colonial Nigeria a higher general education than that provided by the existing schools. This was to prepare them for matriculation examination of the University of London and to give a useful course of study to those who intend to qualify for professional life or to join the government or mercantile service. 5 years after it was established, Lord Lugard described King's College, Lagos as the leading school in the colony as well as the premier school. My father graduated from King's College in 1938. But the prestige of the college had not changed. Even in the 80s when I was ready for secondary school, if anything, the reputation of King's College as the most prestigious school in Nigeria had only become more widely accepted. And the natural thing for me was to be enrolled there. But somehow, even after sitting for the common entrance, I was not able to get into the school. I was so hurt by this that I nearly became distraught. My mother had to plead with me to agree to attend the federal government college, Warri, and to try for King's College again the following year. By the time the next year came, I had changed my mind about attending KC and ended up staying on at FGC Warri and graduating from there. I have no regrets about this. My take on the whole thing was that whereas King's College was my preferred choice, FGC Warri was God's preferred choice for me. Among other blessings, I am still counting today. It was in FGC Warri that I met some of the most important friends in my life. Men like Fumi Akinwumi, Adewale Taikos, Peter Agboli, Chizuoke Oguda, Dr. Erosa Imasuen, my publisher, and a host of others. I am more passionate about my Christian worldview than the average person. Maybe that is a reflection of who I am. Either way, very serious about anything I choose to do, or not bothering to do it at all. One of the most quoted scriptural verse talks about all things working together for good. There is a catch in that verse, which many people do not bother with. Even atheists have been mouthing it, probably with no clue where it came from. The verse is more meaningful when things seem not to be working according to plan. Like a soothing balm, it is meant to assure the believer that in a way he or she may not be immediately perceived, the unpalatable situation will turn out right. FGC Warri was a baby of the federal government, and in my days, it was not a bad place to receive secondary education. However, after we wrote our West African Examination Council WAEC exam for that year, our results were withheld. These unexpected hiatus in my life later proved so critical. I am convinced that if the result had not been withheld, my life would have followed a very different trajectory. It was while awaiting results that I discovered a part of me that had lain dormant until then. That part of me later became the dominant determiner of my life's activities. But the way this self-revelation occurred is fascinating. My life was so regimented, both at school and at home, that I did not know who I really was at the occupational level and did not know my passions. I did as I was told and enjoyed the freedom allowed by my amulets. with several elder brothers and 2 elder sisters, a disciplinarian father, and a mother willing to cooperate in my discipline, I stood no chance against the forces arrayed against me in the home front. All through our childhood, my sister and I spent our holidays in my mother's family house in Lagos. My mother would drop us off in Lagos and return to fetch us back to Benin when school resumed. This arrangement was one of my father's decisions. After the season, my mommy brought us to Lagos and remained with us until after the break. It seems my father felt cheated by that arrangement and then decreed the new system. My time in Lagos was full of varied experiences, and I got to know many of my maternal uncles and aunties during these visits. My Lagos visits also reinforced my submission to authority, which played into the suppression of my passions until after secondary school. As I recently tried to explain to a friend, there was a hierarchy of authority that showed me just how little and nearly inconsequential I was in the larger scheme of things. I was one of those blessed with living mothers of 3 generations, all of whom lived in one house. The most elderly of these was my great-grandmother, the matriarch, born in 1906, a contemporary of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, 1909. The next in line was my grandmother, the only biological child of my great-grandmother. But there is no need to weep for her because she had more adopted siblings than the average block out there. Then there was, of course, my mother. When we were in Lagos, I saw the way decisions were made and how my mother was too junior to even speak up. She was fully on the receiving end of decisions our mother and grandmother made. Decisions such as whether to go to the market, buy stuff, go to church, and other mundane things. If my mother was in a position of full submission, your guess is as good as mine, where that placed me, her very last child. Though I was a man, I was no match for the combined force of these women. And to make matters worse, I had no advantage over them based on the education I garnered at that time. None of them were illiterates, so I could not play with their intelligence. Perhaps this was why I toed the path of friendship. I became close to my grandmother and would often accompany her on outings, mainly to events where she played the role of mediator at weddings and other roles reserved for aged people with palpable dignity. As for my great-grandmother, I held her in awe. As one of the lead stockfish importers in those days, she could hold her head up in society and was contemporaries with some prominent Ijebu personalities like the Odutolas and the Okunawas. Odutola is famous in Nigeria as one of the founders of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, while the Okunawas were top dogs in damask fabric importation. Break of husband. There will be an interlude while the next segment comes on. Thank you very much.
Lord, so do. Wọ́n ní ìwà gbẹ̀jà, ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀jà kọ́ ló ṣe mí. Òdenu igbó, òdenu igbó, òdenu igbó, Olúọdẹ sọ̀rọ̀ ẹlẹ́. Ó ní ìwà gbẹ̀jù, no. dákẹ́ mú jáde tó bá yarí wípé káìkáì ọ̀rọ̀ ẹmu kọ́ ló ń ṣe mí. Mo dénú ilé mo bólólùfẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ wẹ́rẹ́ ó ní kí n wá wòra kẹrẹ sọ ọ̀rọ̀ ara kọ́ ló ń ṣe mí. Ẹ ṣàmọ̀ràn obìnrin ó bá káwọ́ mọ́rí pé bàbá kí ló dé tẹ́ dorí kòtò. Nígbà kó nígbà rò wípé ọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ aráyé ló ń ṣe mí. Nítorí bó bá ò bá ò lọ́mọ aráyé ò. Bó bá ṣáàtì kú lẹ́sẹ̀ kówó ṣubú lọ́rọ̀ ọmọ aráyé ò. Oníṣẹ́ lọ́wọ́ kí wọ́n fẹ́ jágbà mọ́ ẹ lọ́wọ́ lọ́mọ aráyé. Bí iṣẹ́ bá ti bọ̀ kàn máa yín mú sí ẹ lọ́mọ aráyé o. Listen to this. Ó ní bèbí tó dáa kàn máa ṣẹ́jú sí lọ́mọ aráyé. Bí bèbí ẹ ò fáìn tó kàn máa yín mú sí ẹ kí ló ń ṣe bàbá yìí lọ́mọ aráyé. Ẹ wá gbọ́. Ènìyàn bí àparò lọ́mọ aráyé ń fẹ́ o. Ènìyàn bí àparò lọ́mọ aráyé ń fẹ́. Ènìyàn bí àparò lọ́mọ aráyé ń fẹ́. Ènìyàn bí àparò lọ́mọ aráyé ń fẹ́. Thank you.
in the book Never An Afterthought, page 70, on the chapter talking about knowledge is power. Page 70, second paragraph. After expressing my desire to attend an Ivy League college, my brother agreed, which is impressive because these colleges are many times more expensive than the others, but said I would have to wait until September of 1998 before I could hope to get admitted into any of them. The rigorous admissions process was such that I could not secure admission earlier than the next academic session. Even though I could have gotten a job to keep busy in the intervening period, working, without schooling concurrently, was out of sync with my mood and could have affected my momentum. I did not know what to do, but my brother Yemi knew the American education system well enough, and with his guidance, I was able to go into Essex County College, a 2-year community college. The plan was for me to get an associate degree and later transfer to a university for a full degree. Due to Yemi's guidance, I began schooling. Just for a few weeks after arriving in the US, I found this very encouraging and buried my head in my studies, ever conscious that certain persons who cared about me were hoping I would do something good to dismiss their fears. I recall with pride and relief that my academic performance at Essex County College was worthy of the Imoukhuede name. The academic program at Essex County College was structured on the basis of a possible highest grade point average, GPA of 4. My GPA, which I maintained all through my time at Essex, was a perfect 4. There is nothing very good and commendable about the educational system in the United States. It is meant to reward academic excellence and has given a chance to brilliant students who are children or wards of indigent parents. But whether indigent or not, a scholarship provides relief from paying tuition. I found that there were several of these scholarships available for any student with the academic prowess required to qualify for them. I am glad to state that apart from the first semester at Essex, I only paid 50% of my tuition all through my time there, courtesy of several scholarship opportunities. By virtue of my 4-point score, I was also included in the Dean's List, an exclusive list of the best students and the first target of universities and companies looking to attract bright students. I soon experienced an early effect of being on the Dean's List at Essex College. Schools started coming to get us interested in pursuing our bachelor's degree programs with them, offering varying packages to attract us. This was one of those times in my life I am proud to recollect because power of faith and the fact that I already had a good idea of the future I wanted for myself. Being an immigrant in the United States, I had noticed the undercurrent of racism, which is often there. No matter how hard anybody tries to hide it, I know things have changed since 1997, and that racism is more pronounced in some states than in others. But I realized that I would be hindering myself if I expected fairness to fuel my progress. So, I planned my educational goals to put me in the exclusive bracket of extremely bright students so as to have a fighting chance, even with the reality of racism. I did not want to count on the landlord treating me in the same way he would his own son, but I was ready to show him that having me nearby would actually be to his advantage, because between my eyes was a lot of gray matter I was willing to utilize for quality performance. My resolve in sticking to this plan was severely tested by an offer from Kean College, now Kean University of New Jersey. Their representatives came for me and a few others on the Dean's List of Essex County College. They offered me everything that was on the plate. Full scholarship, room, and board. This meant that I could go to Kien University without $1 in my pocket and be well taken care of until graduation. Just like Nigeria in the past, the tradition in the US was for companies to go around schools scouting for potential employees. The type of companies that came to a school was a function of the profile of that school. With my eyes on the future, I asked Ian what sort of companies visited their school for recruitment, and the list of companies they gave me was impressive. I remember they mentioned Rank Xerox, Johnson & Johnson, and a few other big brands. These were large companies that conducted business in billions of dollars. But I had my eye on the very top. Although an immigrant with no advantage other than my brain and the ability to put it into efficient use, I decided that Kien University was not what I wanted. This dilemma was not easy to resolve. I attended dinners with representatives of the university. I was eventually offered the scholarship. To cut a long story short, I had to hide that scholarship offer under the bed just so my brother would not see it. In fact, I never told my brother that. While at Excess, I actually got a full and comprehensive scholarship. I felt he would be motivated to convince me to take it if he had known. As a budding accountant, I wanted to associate with the best accounting firms in the world. At the time, there were 5 accounting and audit firms known as the Big Five that ruled the globe in matters of accounting and auditing. KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst & Young, Deloitte and Touche, and Arthur Andersen. 4 of these firms have remained as they were during my time, but Arthur Andersen was enmeshed in a scandal involving the American energy company, Enron, which was publicized in October 2001. When I was trying to decide which university to attend, my interest was in a university big and excellent enough to attract recruiters from any or all of the Big Five. My research zeroed in on Rutgers University, and I determined that Rutgers was the place to go. My youthful energy, coupled with my vision and the absence of vice in my life, combined to give me a sharp focus in my academics that moved me from strength to strength. Even before finishing from Excess, I took advantage of the tri-school system made up of Excess County College, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Institute of Technology. Everything was working together for good and fulfilling my goal became much easier due to this proximity of Rutgers to Excess. 6 months before concluding my associate degree, I began my program at Rutgers University and was able to conclude both programs in a record 2.5 years instead of 4. Once again, I was on the Dean's list at Rutgers University. I was even inducted into the Honors College. Although I did not get a full scholarship at Rutgers, I still managed not to pay the full tuition because my Honors College membership came with a 20% discount on the tuition I had to pay. So, through hard work and other departmental scholarships, I was able to reduce the financial burden my kind and gracious brother was bearing on my behalf. While at Excess, the people that came around to chase us were from universities. But at Rutgers, it was the turn of companies to come calling. I was not surprised when I got offers from 3 of the Big Five, KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ernst & Young. But because Ernst & Young was the third to contact me, I told them not to bother. Since I already had invitations from the 2 largest accounting firms and would have to choose one. For the first time in my life, I was in a position to choose where to work from 2 good options. knowing that any choice I made would still be an accountant's dream home. I decided on KPMG, but would not let the offer of PricewaterhouseCoopers go to waste. These large accounting firms were so organized that for you to get in, you had to go through an internship program. I decided to pick up the internship offer with PricewaterhouseCoopers from January 2000, which lasted until March. I then picked my final employment offer from KPMG to resume in September 2000. After my graduation in May, I was just trying to maximize the opportunities I had. The easiest thing for me would have been to pick one and turn down the other. But I took the internship with one to gain familiarity and decided to work with the other. When I concluded my internship with PricewaterhouseCoopers in March, I returned their laptop and work tools and called for my laptop and work tools from KPMG. So I had my work tools from KPMG as early as April. I could call for my work tools that early because KPMG had already signed me on. I had even received my sign-on bonus. The only thing that would have terminated my contract with KPMG was death or something equally drastic. Months before I started working, I had already been profiled as an associate staff. This was how, without stumbling into any illegal activity or waiting for luck or trying to claim I was black and disadvantaged, I moved myself from an immigrant without a name to an employee of the best accounting firm in the world. I became an associate of people whose respect for me had nothing to do with my looks, but everything to do with the knowledge I had acquired. At KPMG, I experienced the reality of the old saying, knowledge is power.
Akété ilé ọ̀pọ̀. Èkó akété ilé ọ̀pọ̀. Àrọ̀ ọ̀dẹ̀dẹ̀ kò má má dá. Èkó aromisa lẹ́gbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀. Àrọ̀ ọ̀dẹ̀dẹ̀ kò má má dá. Ìlú Èkó aromisa lẹ́gbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀. Ó nílùú Èkó Èkó ọmọ ẹlẹ́yọ̀. Olódìlú Èkó Èkó ọmọ ẹlẹ́yọ̀. Àló ṣe méjì bàlágàjì bàlágàjì bàlágà ló ṣe méjì mú kó ti polówó. Ẹ̀yọ̀ o ẹ̀yọ̀ o ẹ̀yọ̀ o ayẹyẹ ẹ̀yọ̀ o ẹ̀yọ̀ bàbá ń ta wá tó fi góòlù ṣeré àwa ò lè sanwó ní òde òdìlé. Ẹ̀yọ̀ o ayẹyẹ ẹ̀yọ̀ o ẹ̀yọ̀ o ẹ̀yọ̀ o ẹ̀yọ̀ bàbá ń ta wá tó fi góòlù ṣeré àwa ò lè sanwó ní òde òdìlé. Olówó gbowó èrìyà ó ti kéré mọ́ níwọ̀n àwọn tó wà níbẹ̀ àwọn oníwọ̀n. Campus area tó ti kéré mọ́ nínú àwọn tó wà níbẹ̀ àwọn oníwọ̀n. Ìsàlẹ̀ Èkó area tó ti kéré mọ́ nínú àwọn tó wà níbẹ̀ àwọn oníwọ̀n. Kékeré ológo ọmọ àwòrè ọmọ àwòrè kékeré ológo ọmọ àwòrè kékeré lábí àjí o ọmọ àwòrè kékeré náà lọ sí ọmọ àwòrè kékeré ìdálẹ̀ Èkó ọmọ àwòrè bẹ́ẹ̀rí wà bẹ́ ò bá sá ẹ̀wù ẹ̀jẹ̀ lẹ́wù bẹ́ẹ̀rí wà bẹ́ ò bá sá ẹ̀wù ẹ̀jẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀rí wà bẹ́ ò bá sá ẹ̀wù ẹ̀jẹ̀ lẹ́wù bẹ́ẹ̀rí wà bẹ́ ò bá sá ẹ̀wù ẹ̀jẹ̀ ó ní gbẹ́tù omi àgèrèsè 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 bẹ́ẹ̀rí wà bẹ́ ò bá sá ẹ̀wù ẹ̀jẹ̀ lẹ́wù bẹ́ẹ̀rí wà bẹ́ ò bá sá ẹ̀wù ẹ̀jẹ̀ lẹ́wù. Yeye mi gbé mi sọ fún mi tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ pé kó àkété ìlú ọgbọ́n tó bá dúró kó ṣọ́ra kó níyàn kí ká èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ rárá o rárá o èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ rárá èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ rárá o rárá o èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ rárá o. Yèyé mi pè mí sọ fún mi tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ pé kó àkété ìlú ọgbọ́n kò bá dúró kò ṣọ́ra kó níyàn kí èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ rárá o rárá o èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ èkó gbàgẹ̀rẹ̀ rárá o. Sọmọrí àdúgbò yìí ẹ jáde wá o ẹ wá gbọ́dọ̀ sí àwa o. Sọmọrí àdúgbò ẹ jáde wá o ẹ wá gbọ́dọ̀ sí àwa o. Bàbá jí lówùrọ̀ bàbá ń tọrọ ọmọ lọ́wọ́ ilé bàbá rẹ̀. Bàbá jí lówùrọ̀ kùtù bàbá ń tọrọ ọmọ o. Bàbá ń tọrọ ọmọ lọ́wọ́ ilé bàbá rẹ̀. Elédùmarè kó fún wa lọ́mọ tí owó lédè wá o tí owó lédè wá o títí dọjọ́ alẹ́ wò ó tí owó lédè wá o títí dọjọ́ tí owó lédè wá o tí ó máa gbọ́ ta wá tí owó lédè wá o títí dọjọ́ alẹ́ nítorí bíná bá kú o àwa kéwù kojú o àwọn lédè wá o títí dọjọ́ alẹ́ o. Àníṣe tọ́gẹ̀dẹ̀ bá kú o àwa kọ́mọ rẹ̀ rọ̀kù dandan kò lédè wá o títí dọjọ́ alẹ́ o. A sí ó lélẹ̀ sí ó lélẹ̀ sí ó lélẹ̀ sí ló sí ó lélẹ̀ kẹ́nikẹ́ni má nà bọ̀bọ̀ yẹn ara wa ní bọ̀bọ̀ yẹn ara wa ní sí ó lélẹ̀ sí ó lélẹ̀ sí ó lélẹ̀ kẹ́nikẹ́ni má nà bèbí yẹn aya